I make sure, like on the podcast, when I say things, I'm saying it in a way that
To trigger
slavery
thought. Okay.
is a group of people. It comes from a word that comes from a group of people named Slavs. And when that started happening, when they were enslaved or enslaved, we start using a term called slavery. But in reality, we're not
Slaves.
slaves.
Right.
Servants.
Say that again.
Servants.
Forced servitude.
Yeah.
Then you have indentured servitude,
Right.
which is you have a time that you work and then you get released. So
Which I mean,
it carries a different.
which biblically, like those principles are
It's-
much more different than the Western influence of the word slavery or slave.
Depends on how you interpret it. I've been looking at it lately, and I've been looking at it for a long time. It depends on how you interpret it. If yes, I'll say yes, and it's very, very fine in passing on a slave from generation to generation to generation. It's in the Bible,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you go back to putting that all on the ear, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, releasing a slave or a servant for the sake of knocking out his tooth
Right.
Facts.
is in there as well.
It's in there.
So we got to deal with equal weights and measures.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm about to say that too. Is the way you deal with your in the scriptures, how you deal with your servant.
Right.
You know, and we know certain things that weren't handled during those times.
Right.
You know, that didn't happen. But they would call themselves a Christian nation at
Right.
that time. So,
Right.
and even that person that was putting the affliction on that person, they would call themselves a Christian at the time.
Right.
You know, so that's interesting to me right there.
But going back to your initial question, yes, I do feel like the way the religions have shaped to this point is based on dealing with the trauma of the forced servitude or slavery.
Right.
And then you get this moment in your life, right, where, you're on that road to Damascus, if you will. And then you become enlightened.
Right.
Right.
You see a light,
You see a light.
and it could be blinding.
It can be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I'm seeing now that a lot of people are, they might be putting the assemblies down. They might be not necessarily going to vacation Bible school
Right.
every summer. They may not be attending the mosque as regularly, but they're focusing inward, and they trying to connect inwardly to it that causes to exist, God, Yah, Allah, however you frame it.
Right.
Right, that's what they doing.
Right. And I would agree. And going back to what you mentioned about Generation Z, I think it's a time that a lot of people, if we believe in prophecy and so on and all those things, prophecy, prophetic utterances, I think it's actually foretold that it will be a time, and because of the structured way of thinking, believe it this way or see it this way. I'm showing you how to see it. You have a way that you're looking that you're missing the unfoldment of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You're completely missing it. These young generations, what they need, and I would say need, is someone that has a foundation to help guide them in their
journey. Yeah.
Not too abrasive where you're trying to put them in your box, but guiding them along, saying, listen, a foundation helps you if you swing too far to the left or if you swing too far to the right. That's all I think a foundation really does. It gives you some type of structure, and then you build on it. You build on that structure.
It gives you a point of reason.
Right. And that being said, it's like we're sitting here, we profess to be Hebrew.
Right.
Right. But somebody watching is like, these brothers don't talk like Hebrews. They may not look like Hebrews.
Chipotle.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Because we have taken our own personal expression and we've outsourced it back into our existence and our reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's going to look foreign to somebody that's in their box.
Right.
And again, man, like that goes back to what, psychologists say, that's the priming effect, right? When you're conditioned to express things based on how you've seen them in times past.
Right.
So, you're going to respond. Let me say let's use religion as a certain stimuli on the brain,
Right.
right? For the most part, right? If, what's been told and what's been taught to African Americans is if you don't do it within this box, then you're not doing it right. Meaning you gotta be here, you gotta do this, you gotta say it this way, you gotta dress this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That, and there's several other categories that kind of outline this idea. Go ahead.
Right now we're just talking about religion and spirituality.
Yes.
That gets
Right.
into politics.
Yes.
If you're not, was it Republican, Democrat?
So something.
If you're not this, then you're not black enough.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to this
Right.
kind of music, you're not black
black
enough.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't speak a certain type of way, you're not black enough. So it's like we pigeonhole each other
Right.
into this false illusion of what African American, black, or whatever other constructs that we grasp onto, what
Yeah.
it looks like.
Right.
And I think that's it's very limiting on how
Right.
great a soul or a person could grow.
What I think a lot of people, or we have to realize, is we're here to walk our own walk.
No, we got to say the same thing.
No, brother.
We all got to say the same thing.
No.
But let me
Because if you say what I say, you can't get away with what I say sometimes.
Right.
Depends on where we at.
Right.
Right. Some things you just can't say I can say.
Right.
You just can't say things to my son that I
Right.
can say to my son.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So when we're looking at a person, we're trying to say, no, brother, it's this way.
Right.
This is how you walk.
Right.
No, I can't. No, you can't walk in. You might not be able to pray 3 times a day.
Right.
You can't meditate 3 times a day.
Right.
You might don't turn in circles 3 times a day, 33 times. We'll get into that later on another show. You may not do these things. You might not read 4 or 5 books within a month.
Right.
You might not be able to do that.
Right.
So it's crazy for me to tell you that, this is the way.
Right.
Because you may not be built for that.
I feel like if anybody tells you they got it, they know the way, this is the only way, you should run like HE double hockey sticks from that person in the opposite direction.
I agree, brother.
Now, if they
I
say,
definitely agree.
listen, I got something to show you, I'm not telling you to do it the way I do it. I'm just going to show you how I do it. And then you take from there how you want to, you take from it whatever you get from it. Now we can talk. Now we can build.
Right. And one thing that Piglon was saying earlier is that, what has happened is, as religion as a mechanism of influence, when you don't do it the way that people think you should do it, we start going in on each other.
Because I'm a witness. I've done that.
Right.
I think we all.
I think we all.
I think we all been there, but
But we learn.
I did. I learned a lot from that. You know what I'm saying? And it was, it proved to me that that's not the approach that's relevant for me.
Right.
Right. I can't going in on somebody, and and at the same time saying that I'm a beacon of light for the Creator. That
Right.
that didn't work out too well.
Right. And let me add this too, because I think it needed to be said. I think we missed that point a couple of weeks ago when we was talking about it. When someone else is in a different spiritual idea or ideology from you, you need to let them do that instead of downing them, degrading them, telling them they going to hell and all of this stuff. No,
I mean,
that's their path.
But what if it's your child? and
No.
they're in your house, and you gotta.
No, that
They-
ain't
they
that
need-
ain't the
they-
way, brother.
They need to do it the way that you do it.
Right. The way it's called love. That's all it is. The Creator love you, and you should love your. Because you get away with a whole bunch of stuff with the Creator, but you don't have passion enough to allow your child to move in a certain way. And like I say, I've been guilty of that.
Right.
But I had to learn. I had to, like you said a week ago, I think we was talking about love. We had to find out what love is and what
Right.
love really is. And a lot of people, when you think what we understand what love is, you would stare us in the face and say, "No, brother, you wrong."
I think. Finish your thought.
Go ahead.
I think that's the disconnect between a lot of our generations and Generation Z, is because we were taught like, okay, as long as you live in my home and my house, you're gonna abide by my rules, and a lot of times that means you're gonna be as I be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And not all cases, because it's a paradoxical thing, because it does form some type of structure.
Right.
But at the same time, you have those that go away from it. That feels like they ran from that type of thinking.
Right.
Well,
Right.
my parent was like this, so I'm gonna be like this.
Right.
And we kind of see the results of that now. However, going back to what I said initially, it's like we should take the foundation and the structure, and if you see your child leaning in different directions, you show them, not force them, but you show them and guide them, and you're there. You try to be there every step of the way on their journey, because you may learn something too.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You got something?
You lead them without controlling them.
Right.
Hey, listen.
It's like having the shepherd staff. I was just dealing with that this morning with
Okay.
ATI. With the staff, because a lot of times we think the rod things we supposed to be beating our children.
Right.
No, it's to guide them to a certain point in life. Now you can't control. They might get away from your little rod, and you got sometimes you just gotta pick your rod up, say, "Oh well," and let it ride. Now I want people to get things twisted, because within the household there are rules.
Right.
Now that don't mean I have to make you do a religion or what I do when I'm talking about spirituality things. No, when I say you need to go wash the dishes, yeah, you need to go wash the dishes. That's the rule of the house. You got to go wash the dishes. You got to go take the trash out. Now I don't expect anybody to do anything in my house. Because if you don't do it, guess who's going to do it? I'm going to do it. But then when you come to me and you want something done, I'm going to look at you.
You're going to carry the same energy.
I'm going to look at you be like, okay.
But
I
you know
got you.
what? Even that in itself it's priming the brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, even that is still, I feel like that's still leading and guiding the soul. Right? Like, they still, you may not call it out. Hey, look, you gotta do unto others as you want them to do to you.
Right.
You don't gotta spell that out, right? But they gonna learn.
Right.
I tell my children, man, I like, listen, I'm not telling you to be a Hebrew. That's what I do.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Right.
But what I do encourage you to do is find a path of discipline that aligns with how your soul is progressing.
That's a good word right there, though.
You know what I'm saying? This is what I found that works for me. This is what has helped me out in my journey. You can do it with me if you want to. It's all good. But, I'm learning more and more better ways to preserve relationships with that generation.
Okay. Now, I guess, how does this relate to religion and spirituality in the 7 spheres of influence?
Well, again, right? So, like, I'm gonna back up to last week. Last week we had the family dynamic.
Right.
This week we talking about religion, which is a subcomponent of the family dynamic.
Right.
Right. Overarching that, that main hub of decision making.